The House in the Wood, from Grimm's Fairy Tales. A poor woodcutter lived with his wife and 3 daughters in a little cottage at the edge of a lonely forest. One morning, as he was setting out to work, he said to his wife, "Let our eldest daughter bring my dinner out to me in the forest, for I shan't have time to come home for it. And so that she doesn't lose her way," he added, "I will take a bag of millet with me and scatter the grains behind me as I go." Now, when the sun was high over the forest, the girls set out with a bowl of soup. But the sparrows, the larks, the finches, the starlings and the tits had long since pecked up the millet, so that the girl could not find a trace of her father. So she followed her nose until the sun went down and night came on. The trees rustled in the darkness, the owls hooted, and she began to be frightened. Far away she saw a light shining behind the trees. "There must be people there," she thought. "Perhaps they will take me in for the night." So she went towards the light. It was not long before she came to a house, from the window of which the light was shining. She knocked at the door, and a rough voice from inside called out, "Come in." She went into the dark porch and knocked on the parlour door. "Do come in," called the voice. And when she opened the door, there was an old man with hair as grey as ice, sitting at the table with his head on his hands and his white beard flowing over the table, almost to the floor. 3 creatures were lying by the stove: a bird, a hen, and a brindled cow. The girl told the old man her plight and asked him for shelter for the night. He said, "Pretty bird, pretty hen, what say you then? Pretty brindled cow, what say you now?" "Ducks," they answered. And that must have meant, "We are willing," because the old man went on, "There's enough to spare. Go to the kitchen range and cook us some supper." In the kitchen, she found plenty of everything, and she cooked a good meal, but never thought of the animals. She carried the dishes to the table, sat down with the old man, and ate till her hunger was satisfied. When she had finished, she said, "I'm so tired now. Where is the bed on which I can lie down and sleep?" The creature answered, "Since with him you sat drinking and eating, never thinking of us and our hungry plight, now see where you will spend the night." "Just go upstairs," said the old man, "and you will find a room with 2 beds in it. Shake up the beds and cover them in clean linen. Then I shall come up too and go to bed." So she went upstairs and shook up the beds and put clean sheets on and lay down in one of them without waiting for the old man. Some time after, he came up, looking at her by the light of the candle, and shook his head. When he saw that she was fast asleep, he opened a trapdoor and dropped her down into the cellar. Late in the evening, the woodcutter came home and reproached his wife for letting him go hungry all day. "It's not my fault," she answered. "The girl went out with your dinner and must have lost her way. She'll come back in the morning." The woodcutter got up before it was light, got ready to go to work, and said that their 2nd daughter was to bring dinner out to him. "I will take a bag of lentils with me," he said, "for they are bigger than grains of millet. The girl will see them and cannot miss the way." At midday she carried his dinner out, but the lentils had vanished. As on the day before, the birds of the forest had pecked them all up, and not one was left behind. The girl wandered about the forest until it was dark, and she too came to the house where the old man lived, was invited in, and asked for supper and a bed. The man, with his white beard, again asked the creatures, "Pretty bird, pretty hen, what say you then? Pretty brindled cow, what say you now?" And again they answered, "Ducks." And all happened just as the day before. The girl cooked a good supper, ate and drank with the old man, and took no thought for the animals. When she asked where she was to spend the night, they all answered, "Since with him you sat drinking and eating, never thinking of us and our hungry plight, now see where you will spend the night." When she had gone to sleep, the old man came and looked at her, shaking his head, and tipped her down to the cellar. On the third morning, the woodcutter said to his wife, "Today you must send our youngest daughter out with my dinner. She has always been good and obedient. She will stay on the right track and not stray about like those wild hoydens, her sister." Her mother was loath to send her and said, "Am I now to lose the dearest of my children too?" "Have no fear," he said. "The girl will not lose her way. She is too clever and sensible. Besides, I will take peas with me and scatter them behind me. They are even bigger than lentils, and they will mark the way for her." But when she set out with her basket on her arm, the wood pigeons had got their crops full of peas, and she did not know which way to turn. She grew very anxious, thinking of her poor father going hungry and her mother worrying if she stayed out late. At last, when it was dark, she saw the little light and came to the house in the wood. She asked politely if she might spend the night there, and the man with the white beard asked his creatures, "Pretty bird, pretty hen, what say you then? Pretty brindled cow, what say you now?" "Ducks," they said. Then the girl went to the stove, where they were lying, and caressed the bird and the hen, stroking their smooth feathers with her hand, and scratched the brindled cow between the horns. When she had done as the old man told her, she cooked a good supper, and the plates of soup were on the table. She said, "Am I to eat my fill and give these poor animals nothing? There's plenty for them to eat outside. I'll feed them first." She went and fetched barley and scattered it in front of the bird and the hen, and brought an armful of fragrant hay for the cow. "Eat away, dear creatures," she said, "and if you are thirsty, you should have a drink too." She brought in a pail of fresh water, and the bird and the hen jumped up on the rim and dipped their beaks in the water and held their heads in the air, as birds do when they drink. And the brindled cow took a deep draught too. When the beasts were fed and watered, the girl sat down with the old man at the table and ate what he had left for her. Before long, the bird and the hen began to put their heads under their wings, and the brindled cow started blinking to keep her eyes open. Then the girl said, "Shall we go to sleep now?" Once more the old man asked the creatures, "Pretty bird, pretty hen, what say you then? Pretty brindled cow, what say you now?" They answered, "Ducks." "With us you sat drinking and eating and thinking of us as was right. We wish you good night." Then she went upstairs, shook up the pillows, and put clean sheets on the beds. And when all was ready, the old man came upstairs and got into bed with his white beard that came down to his feet. The girl got into the other bed, said her prayers, and went to sleep. She slept quietly until midnight, but then such a noise broke out in the house that she woke up. There was such a cracking and rattling at the corners, and the doors burst open and slammed against the wall. The beams groaned as if they would jump out of their mortices, and it seemed as if the stairs were falling down. And at last there was a loud crash, as if the whole roof had collapsed. When all was quiet again, and she saw there was no harm done, she stayed quietly in bed and went to sleep again. But when in the morning she woke up to bright sunshine, what did she see? She was lying in a great hall, and everything about her shone with royal splendour. Green silk tapestries, worked with golden flowers, hung on the walls. Her bedstead was of ivory, and the sheets of crimson satin, and on a chair beside it were a pair of slippers stitched with pearls. She thought it was a dream, but 3 richly clad servants came into the room and asked her what was their command. "Go away," she answered. "I'm just going to get up and cook the old man some soup, and then I'll feed the pretty bird and the hen and the pretty brindled cow." She thought the old man must have got up already and looked around for his bed. He was not in it. but a strange man lay there. As she was looking at him, she noticed that he was young and handsome. He woke and sat up, saying, "I am a prince, and an old witch put a spell on me, making me live as an old, grey-bearded man alone in the forest, with no one by me but my 3 servants, whom she turned into a bird and a hen and a brindled cow. The spell could not be broken until a young girl came to us who was good and kind, not only to men, but to beasts as well. And you were that one. Last night at midnight the spell was broken by you, and the old house in the forest was changed into my royal palace again." When they had got up, the king's son told the 3 servants to go away and fetch her father and mother to the wedding feast. "But where are my sisters?" she asked. "I shut them up in the cellar," he said, "and tomorrow they are to be led into the forest to serve as maids in a charcoal burner's house until they have mended their ways and learned not to let poor animals go hungry."